What would you do if you knew your fate is to die the next day, and you would have to repeat the same day, the same hell, over and over and over again? Well, you know what I would do if I were in that situation. Be like Subaru. The idea of going back in time is really cool. Don't we all wish we could undo that time we took a fat dump in the middle of class? What, only me? Okay. Bringing the experience and understanding of the future back to the past and making use of that knowledge is a fantasy that all of us have daydreamed about at some point. And it's absolutely badass when you see a main character become the focal point of the entire story because of this. Regret is a powerful emotion, and being able to overturn the absolute into something favorable is an idea we can all fuck with. It gives off that same hype that isekais have when we see a bitch-ass protagonist turn into an absolute unit. OP protagonist meets a tragic death, gets sent back to the past where he's a nobody, but uses the skills he developed in the future to become stronger than everybody else and change his fate. There, I just described to you the plot of all these manhwas and many more out there. But, what if you take this idea of going back in time when you die, and turning it into a whole show? Then you have the return by death genre, as I would like to call it. That's rezero. And that shit is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's exciting seeing how Subaru's actions branch out into different timelines. The world is filled with many mysteries and dangers. Subaru's a normal human like any one of us, so seeing this fragile being figure out how he would navigate through this otherworldly environment keeps us on the edge of our seats. That's what we'll be discussing. Today, we'll be talking about rezero. That's what we'll be discussing. Today, we'll be talking about... Wait. I've been here. No. Today, we won't be talking about rezero. Or any of these other shit. Get that shit out of here. Today, we'll be talking about the Return by Death manga that started it all. Released 8 years before rezero was even conceived. Today, we'll be talking about... Ah, fuck. All you need is kill. Humans are at war with aliens called mimics that have laid siege on Earth. Soldiers combat these creatures with powered exoskeletons. The story begins with our protagonist, Keiji, waking up after a weird dream where he dies in battle. Odd thing is, today is one day before he first sets foot on the battlefield. Strangely enough, he has this ominous feeling where it is as if he's been through this day before. He can't help but feel an ominous sense of dread for his deployment tomorrow. The next day, just as he feared, the battle against the mimics is intense. This is when we first get to take a closer look at these so-called horrifying mimics. And they look like black nutsacks with teeth. Not that I dislike it, I mean I fuck with it. Not because I like black balls or anything. I just find it more creative than those generic prowler-like dog aliens that you see in the movie counterpart. I mean, when you think of aliens, Shaq's balls are not really what first comes to mind, is it? The design is unique! Why are you looking at me like that? Just like in his dream, he gets killed in combat. He wakes up once again on the same day he was in. And so, Keiji does what any rational person would do. He makes a run for it. Yeah. But he didn't make it too far before a stray mimic manages to hunt him down and execute the motherfucker on the spot. He wakes up once again. This time says fuck it, borrows his teammate's loaded gun, cocks it in his mouth like I do with a big black cock, and blows his fucking brains out. Yeah, he still wakes up once again on that very same day. And so he decides to resist his fate. He will do whatever it takes to survive in this hellish loop. This story reminds you of Edge of Tomorrow featuring Tom Cruise. That's because that movie is actually based on this exact story. When I first watched that movie, I was stoked. That was my very first exposure with the Return by Death genre, and I thought it was the coolest concept ever. Thinking back though, that shit doesn't make any sense.
Find me when you wake up.
I mean, Tom Cruise at one point fucking rolled to his death. It's that sort of movie where you just have to turn your brain off and have dumb fun. What makes this manga better than rezero though, lies in the protagonist. So let's compare him to Subaru for a second. Point 1. Subaru is a pussy. I don't like that. I can't stand these crybaby protagonists. Their first instinct is to cry. After a certain point, it just gets repetitive and annoying, which is why I absolutely despise Takabichi from Tokyo Revengers. Look, I get it. Subaru's actually a loser in real life. He's supposed to be realistic. If you want to talk about realism, do you think your average stinky basement-dwelling weeaboo can survive in this isekai world? Fuck no. But it's not as if our protagonist doesn't have this bitch face though. It just comes with the territory. But the author doesn't dwell on that. It's just one loop iteration that doesn't even last half a chapter. Point 2. Subaru is a dumbass. He's only smart when the author needs him to progress the story, and that disparity is so noticeable in that character. On the other hand, Keiji starts off weak, just like Subaru, but uses every single iteration as a learning opportunity to improve himself. How many times have Subaru died again? I found he died like about 25 times in just the anime alone. Like, fuck the light novel, man, we're not counting that shit. But what about Keiji?
Why are we still here? just to suffer.
We are forced to see Keiji's descent into madness as he repeats the same day over 100 times. He has to constantly see the people around him die. That really fucks with his mental state. At the same time, it's really cool to see him use this knowledge to his advantage, like when he sneaks past the guards, or when he details what happens around him on a minute-to-minute basis. There are side characters, but they don't appear too often or have any major impact on the narrative. There was even a scene where the hot chick invites Keiji to hook up with her, but all he says is, "Sorry, not the guy for you." Even so, the author finds ways to make these side characters have a lasting impression, even if we only get tidbits of information about them. That's talent right there. This manga is only 17 chapters long with 2 volumes, but it doesn't feel like it because of how engaging it is. There are many interesting developments and plot twists that will keep you reading from chapter to chapter. If you notice how familiar the art style is, that's because it's drawn by the same dude that made Death Note, so you know you're in for a spectacle. Still, this is a manga about being trapped in a loop of death, so it gets deep into themes of loneliness and suffering. But at the same time, there are still many endearing moments between the characters that puts a smile on your face. You will leave this manga feeling emotional, but the good sort of feeling. With that said, fuck rezero, go read this instead. Okay, thank you, bye. rezero, death sound.